Today, I'm going to inform you on chronic traumatic encephalopathy, the NFL plague. How many of you watch the NFL? Probably quite a few of you. Now, how many of you recognize either of these two men? Well, if you do or if you don't, I want you to keep the image of these two men in the back of your head as you watch this presentation. Now, I want you to picture this. You're sitting on the couch on a beautiful Sunday night and you're watching a Steelers versus Giants game. The Steelers are winning 21-3, and Mike Webster, the center of the Steelers, is snapping the ball back to the quarterback. One of the Giants players rushes Mike Webster, striking him in the head with his helmet. When Mike Webster is struck in the head, he goes flying onto the field, and you think to yourself, why is this man overreacting for such a small blow to the head? Well, little did you know, this small blow to the head is leading Mike Webster one blow closer to his death. Mike Webster would go on from this game to endure hundreds of more blows just like this one, each blow leading him one step closer to developing CTE and one step closer to his death. So what is chronic traumatic encephalopathy? By definition, CTE is the brain degeneration due to repeated head traumas caused by blows to the head and concussions. These repeated blows to the head cause the tau protein to spread throughout the brain's neurons, causing degradation of white and gray brain matter. However, CTE cannot be diagnosed in living victims. It can only be diagnosed after death using brain tissue scans to detect abnormal levels of the tau protein. However, living victims can exhibit symptoms such as cognitive impairment, abnormal behavior, abnormal aggression, memory loss, and suicidal thoughts that can lead professionals to thinking that these victims do have CTE. As I mentioned earlier, Mike Webster is one of the early NFL players to exhibit symptoms of CTE and to be diagnosed with it. During his life, Mike Webster exhibited strange behaviors, such as living in the back of his truck when he was very well off. His teeth were falling out, he was exhibiting severe cases of aggression, and his wife described him as a 65-year-old living in a 40-year-old body. Since the spike of cases in the NFL, Jesse Mez, a professor at the Boston University School of Medicine, has decided to examine 200 brains donated to him by football players from all over. He has found that 99% of these brains have been diagnosed with CTE. Out of these 200 brains, 111 of these brains were donated by the NFL. Even more shockingly, he has found that 110 out of the 111 of these brains are found to have CTE. Now, you may have recalled another familiar face earlier, and yes, this is the face of Aaron Hernandez. Although he wasn't diagnosed until after his death, Aaron Hernandez did exhibit symptoms of CTE during his life, such as aggression, memory loss, and the 3 murders he committed of Daniel Abreu, Safiro Furtado, and Odin Lloyd. After his suicide in jail, Aaron Hernandez was diagnosed with stage 3 CTE and was found to have a brain atrophy. In response to these high rising cases of CTE, the NFL has decided to make 47 new rule changes that include contact limitations, health protocols, and equipment requirements, and these have been indicated since 2002. The NFL has also decided to designate $100 million to CTE research and has decided to designate 29 health professionals per sideline, per game, per team indefinitely in the future. Now, every time you watch a football game, I want you to remember how much of a sacrifice these football players go through and how much they're putting their lives at risk every time they step on the field. Think about how many of these players may have CTE. If you would like to further your knowledge on CTE and the health risks of football, I would like to guide you to either of these 2 films. The first one is Concussion, and is about the story of Mike Webster and his journey with CTE, and the discovery of CTE by Dr. Mullen. The second one is the Mind of Aaron Hernandez documentary about the life of Aaron Hernandez, his murders, and his diagnosis of CTE. Thank you for getting to know a little more about CTE.